Um, every day I wake up, it's a new challenge. Knowing that a part of me I will never talk to, I will never hold, I will never play around with or get mad at. It's not here anymore. Nolan brought a lot of joy to our family. He was the wittiest one out of everyone. The clown. He he loved to put in the work because he wanted to be the best. He wanted to make me and his mother proud, and we were so proud of him just for being the person that he was. He was loving. All his teachers knew him, but loved him. He walks in the room, his aura, you're automatically drawn to it. Never met an enemy, and if they were, they would eventually be friends because they would eventually bond, and it's gonna be hard. Um, it's gonna be hard for our family from here on out. And like I said, every day is a challenge. We're gonna miss our son, and like my wife said, we just want honesty. We want to know what happened to our son because the things that you're telling us, that's not the character of our son. We know our son.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Edward Joseph, and let's talk live. Nolan Xavier Wells. Look what they done to me. All right, let's talk. Well, today, peoples, has been such an interesting day. I'm here. I am back live, and I am going to talk about some things, peoples. Peoples, Nolan Xavier Wells. Look what they done to me. You guys come on in. You guys come on in. You guys come on in, for there's so much to talk about, peoples. You guys come on in. Peoples, I am here and I am back. And I am back to talk about this particular case of Nolan Wells. And I want to come back because I wanted to try to bring some clarity out of confusion. And so there's going to be different clips that I'm going to play, peoples, because they got nice pictures and things of that nature. And we're going to see if we can bring some clarity out of confusion, peoples. But also, I wanted to call out the gentleman, Mr. our officer Tatum, because there are some things that I have heard in the live that I had played on last night, peoples. And I wanted to allow you all to get some clarity to that of what he had stated, peoples. And see, it's always good to go back and listen to the various things that you have done because, you know, it always is good to get clarity. And that's what we're going to strive on tonight, peoples, is clarity. Now, peoples, you guys got to forgive me because I'm going to be smacking. I got me a nice big juicy burrito and things, and so I got to eat. And so, forgive me, people, because as I do this live one tonight, I'm going to be eating as well. But I wanted to go back and bring some clarity to that of what we were talking about. I see my peoples came in. Hello, Gina, to you. How are you, ma'am? It is a blessing to see you on today. Well, I'm here and I'm back. And so, what I wanted to do, I wanted to start off with, um, I wanted to start off with a post that, um, what's the name? God, and I just was watching her earlier today. Nancy Grace. I wanted to start off with Nancy Grace, peoples. I wanted to start off with Nancy Grace, and we're going to get into this and things. So let's start off with her, and let's get some clarity upon some things that was stated, peoples. Let's get some clarity that was stated, because Nancy Grace, she had the she had the professionals on and things, and there were some things that the doctors and stuff had stated about Nolan Wells' autopsy. But not only Nolan Wells' autopsy, there were some bombshell revelations and things as it pertains to Nolan Wells' cell phone. And so, people, you know, I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to listen in to that of what was stated. So let me go ahead and call this video up. I'm going to share my screen, peoples. And we're going to get with Nancy Grace. Let me move this video down. Just trying to figure out where her thing is right here. Okay. So I'm going to move it down close to my live. All right, people. So let's listen to Nancy Grace for one moment here. And let's see what she was talking about, peoples. Let's go.
The family is afraid. Many people have seen injustice in other cases that have nothing to do with them. And I believe they fear evidence will be destroyed or mishandled, and it can never be recaptured. It's very possible it could never be recaptured.
The phone in the Nolan Wells case, I have a message directly to DA Angel Myers McGrath from a former prosecutor who did the same job you did, 30 years criminal trial experience, certified criminal trial lawyer, former head county prosecutor. Please listen carefully. This phone issue is getting out of hand. Nobody knows what to believe because you keep refusing, as I've said previously, to do proper public relations. Now, supposedly, there's a letter out there that says you agreed in July to have the phone examined with the experts from the family at a specific location and in a specific way, and that they are ready, willing, and able, and gave 4 dates this week where they would be willing to surrender that phone for examination. Now, I've been involved in things like this, so I don't know what's been said or hasn't been said, but I'll say this. The only story that we're listening to is that from Nolan Wells' family. And when they send you a letter and you don't respond and correct that letter, then we can only presume rightly that what's in that letter is correct. So the question becomes, if you had an agreement in July, why is it not being honored? There are accounts that you have demanded that the phone just be turned over in violation of that agreement. And that is not a good thing, not a good look. I can tell you from the commentary on the posts that I've had that your constituency out there in Mississippi does not trust law enforcement and does not trust this investigation. Your continued failure to update the community on any misinformation, if there is misinformation, or say, for example, if this agreement is not what the agreement was, then you need to get out there and you need to let the public know. Now, Stop with this thing that you don't compromise investigations about speaking about them.
24 hours. That's all the time Nolan Wells' parents were reportedly given to hand over the phone that could contain some of the last pieces of their son's story. But the darkest part isn't the deadline. It's why now. 6 weeks into the investigation, after a July 15th plan was reportedly agreed upon, something changed, and suddenly, the phone became urgent. Nolan's parents weren't asking for the investigation to stop. They were asking for one thing: someone independent in the room. So why does that matter? What could happen the moment that phone is unlocked? What are they so desperate to make sure someone witnesses? And if there's truly nothing unusual on that device, why is 24 hours enough time to demand it, but not enough time to answer the questions surrounding it? Because tonight, we're going inside the Nolan Wells phone saga. And there's one question nobody seems willing to answer. What changed? Before we go any further, drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, and if you believe Nolan deserves answers, hit like, subscribe to Uncovered Crime, and turn on notifications.
Peoples, let me go ahead and call up my disclaimer before we proceed any further. I'm going to call up my disclaimer, and then we're going to get back into this here, Peoples. Let me go to my desktop. Got to go to my desktop, and let's see here. Let's go to my desktop. Video files, desktop, and let's look for my disclaimer. Okay, there we go. Let me play my disclaimer, peoples. Disclaimer. The copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act allows it made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarships, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. You guys hold on for one moment, please. Okay, peoples, I am back. That was my disclaimer. Let me go ahead and let me share my screen, peoples. And we're going to get back into this because the thing is, peoples, there was a little bit of confusion about the Nolan Wells cell phone and what it could pertain in things. But we're going to get a little bit of clarity out of confusion on tonight, peoples. And we're going to get a little bit of clarity out of confusion as to the time that the kids was supposedly had last seen Nolan Wells. Now, I was talking to some content creators earlier tonight and stuff, and one of the content creators was basically stating that she believes that Nolan was killed between the hours of 3 and 4:30. And I'm kind of like, well, that doesn't make no sense to me. You know, even though this may be your theory, it doesn't make no sense to me because, for the simple fact that at the 3 o'clock hour, they were already seen at the dock. And then at 4:30 something, it was still already daylight. And according to the gentleman who had made the live, who was being interviewed by Mr. Potato, Mr. Officer Tatum, that they last seen Nolan at the 3 o'clock hour. Well, see, peoples, if that be the case, and something happened to Nolan between 3 and 4:30, then help me to make this make sense. It was already still daylight. And it was thousands of people there at Horns Island, according to the gentleman who had given his interview on Mr. Tatum's or Officer Tatum's live. Now, My question is this: if anything was to happen to Nolan in the daytime, you got thousands of witnesses that could have witnessed a murder. Could have witnessed a murder. And so my thing is simply this: if you're going to go on a limb and say that you truly believe that Nolan was killed between the 3 and 4:30 hour, well, then what is the basis of that? Help me to make it make sense. Did they kill the boy, keep him on the ship, and then discard his body later on or whatever? What was there a struggle at the time to win the supposed 911 call, because their boat was supposed to have been sinking, right? And we're going to play that too, and we're going to listen in, peoples. Could he have been killed around that particular time? Well, peoples, you make the decision. You tell me what you think. I'm only going to just expound and express my thoughts and views based upon what they said. But based upon what they said and based upon the evidence that has already been collected thus far, I personally believe that this is a murder gone wrong. I personally believe that Nolan Xavier Wells has been murdered. Now, murdered by who? I can't tell you. But I truly believe that he has been murdered. And so we're going to be listening to some testimonies of some experts that has been following this case. And I want you guys to listen attentively, because we're going to go back and we're going to play back a segment of Mr. Tatum's lie, because he even said it himself, that the reason why the other kids did not want to come publicly to speak is because they don't want to be implicated in a murder. Mr. Tatum, Officer Tatum, had said that. And I caught that. And I'm going to call him out for that. Is that all right, peoples? I see my peoples came in the house. Hello, Jana Wooten. How are you, ma'am? It is a blessing to see you on today. All right, peoples. Let's listen to Nancy Grace and the professionals, and let's get their take up on what they have to say. Let's listen in, peoples. Let's go.
Because tonight, we're following the timeline, examining the unanswered questions, and looking at what this phone could mean for the Nolan Wells investigation. Stay with me.
You've got a question for Scott Eicher. Let me tell you who Eicher is. Digital forensics expert, founding member of the FBI Cellular Analysis Survey Team, historical cellular analysis expert, former FBI, 22 years, former homicide, Norfolk, Virginia Police Department, works multiple cases, and currently with Precision Cellular Analysis. I could go on. Scott, tell me how this examination, I mean, you don't just pick up the phone and go, okay, I looked at it. What is a phone examination? How do I get evidence of potential snaps that were sent that day, texts, emails, photos taken during those critical hours? And important, how do I find out if anything was deleted? We've heard, yes, it's deleted. No, it wasn't deleted. The only way we're going to know is from a forensics exam. How do you do it? Now, take baby steps. Go ahead.
It's pretty easy nowadays. You get the physical phone itself. you hook it up to a device like the Cellbrite, which is one of the main producers of this type of software that can download phones. First of all, obviously, you have to have the password to the phone. If not, then you have to go through a lot of processes to get past the password and into the phone. But once you're into the phone, and this can be done with other people standing by, as you were talking about, another investigator for the defense or for the family or something like that being there, they can sit there and watch you download the phone. And basically, once you download a copy of what's on the phone, and you're not really messing with the evidence that's on the phone, you're not changing it, you're just copying it to another computer, and then you can start going through that data. You can look at all the text messages, and it'll even let you know which ones have been deleted. Now, of course, deleted means, it's
Put them up, please. Put them up, please. What do you see when you're looking for deleted? Do you see like you log on and you just see all this data, X's and O's and digits, and how do I tell something's been deleted? Explain that to me. I mean, unless it's in recently deleted, but even my twins at age 3 knew how to go into my phone and find recently deleted and delete it. How do you find it?
So it's actually just, on the computer screen, you're looking at all the lists of text messages, and it says right to the right of it, this one was deleted. So in an aspect, if it hadn't been overwritten, think about how computers work. You delete something, just like a phone, you delete something, it kind of takes it and moves it into a to an area you're not using. And then once, if the phone starts getting full, it starts writing over that deleted stuff. So things that were deleted at some point in time are still there and can be recovered. The actual texts of the text message, the content of the text messages is still there until it's getting written over by the phone.
Scott Eicher, has your company, Precision Cellular Analysis, performed these independent examinations of phones?
Yes, they have. We have a whole group of individuals in our company that just specialize in downloading phones, rebuilding phones that are damaged so that the data can be pulled from the phone, and breaking into the phones if we don't have the password.
What is Cellbrite and how is it used?
It's a program that's been around for a good amount of time, probably 15 years, and each year it gets more updated, but it's a program that actually goes into the phone and allows you to copy the information from the phone onto a different computer. And then you can look at that data and spend time going through it, get all the chronological information from text messages to pictures to Snapchat. So you can get a timeline from all these different areas of the phone.
What about a digital forensics go bag? A portable data collection rig. We saw it in the Nancy Guthrie investigation. It was used when the investigators went into the Guthrie family home. You see it on field operations, intelligence, digital forensics. They extract or they mirror digital info right there on location, a tactical exploitation kit like a forensics go bag.
Yes, those are available, and basically Cellbrite is that also. It's more for phones, but you can have the same type of device for computers and for other devices in the home. But Cellbrite is also a portable device that you can take to a crime scene, take to a house, or go to a individual's residence and do that download. It doesn't have to be done in the office.
According to the family, they have made the phone and their independent experts readily available.
The Jackson County DA's office, as well as our forensic team, and possibly the FBI, we're going to together download and examine the phone. So it's done one time with everybody together, right? This is very common in the law. This is what is supposed to happen. We are waiting for the DA to determine the time, the place, the date, let us know, and we are going to be there with our forensics team and anybody else, but it's done one time, one examination. We're ready for it to happen.
Okay, people. So as you can see, the phone is going to be analyzed by the professionals. They're going to download the contents and things and stuff, and they're going to be able to tell what was recorded up on his phone. But not only can tell what was recorded upon the phone, but they can be able to track and trace the steps of where that phone has been located. Now, people, if you looked at this live that I'm playing of Nancy Grace, and they had came about upon the island, and they showed you the island and how long and what was around the island, and it ain't nothing but just a patch of sand in the middle of the water and stuff. There's not much to it because there's nothing on it. There's no lights. There's no chairs. There's no buildings. There's nothing. It's all it is just a patch of sand. But you had thousands of boats out along the island. And so one has to really think in a very methodical manner, peoples. And that is simply, if anything was to happen to Nolan Wells in the daytime, well, then you had thousands of witnesses that could have attest to something happening to him. Because if there's ever was an altercation, well, then with all of the boats, according to the guy who had given the interview with Officer Tatum, he said that there was thousands of people there. And so if it was something that happened to Nolan in the daytime, well, you would have thousands of witnesses because there is no trees upon the island, peoples. There's no cover. There's nothing. All it is just open land and boats docked around the island. So you have to help me to make this make sense, peoples. You got to help me to make this make sense. If Nolan Wells was assaulted at any given point in time in the daytime, because they were saying that he was missing in the daytime, he wanted to sit back with some honky looking girl, a white girl, a honky. He wanted to sit back with a honky and catch a ride later on with someone. Well, think about that for one moment. See, and that would be one of the bases to really want to do something to him, especially if this honky girl that he was so infatuated with, according to his friends, according to his brothers, according to his best friends and all like that and stuff, that would be a very good motive to do something to him, right? Especially if one of the guys end up liking the same honky. Things would have got funky, right? But see, that's the thing though, peoples. That's the thing. All of these honkies was at the island, but everybody came home except for Nolan Xavier Wells. He's the only person out of all of these thousands of people that was at the island that came up missing. And it's amazing to me, people, how one little black guy could have disappeared just so readily, just so quickly, without nobody knowing his whereabouts. Think about that for one moment, people. You know? All of the thousands of people that was at this island, and the only one that came up missing was Nolan. Nobody's seen a thing. But yet, they all came home and he didn't. That's amazing to me, people. So we know that the people lied. We know that his friends lied. We know that a lot of things is happening, but a lot of people is lying. We know that Officer Tatum had lied. We know that his friends lied. We know everybody lied. And so you cannot trust and you cannot believe what the people say because they lied. You know, they lied. So I'm not so much concerned about all of the lies that they made peoples, because at the end of the day, there is forensic evidence that can prove things beyond the shadow of a doubt. And we're going to explore that on tonight, peoples. You know, we're going to explore that on tonight, peoples. So let's listen in a little more to this phone situation. And let's see what the professionals had to say about the phone. Let's go.
From our friends at WLOX, that's Liza Park, working with Nolan's mother. To you, Susan Hendricks, now somehow it's made to look like the family, Nolan's family, is not cooperating. Let me understand what has happened. So Nolan's family went out of state. I don't know why. And while they were gone, they get a demand letter from the DA's office.
Yeah, that said you have 24 hours. And they were at the NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists Conference in Georgia. They spoke on stage and they said, wait a minute, we're not there. We can't do that. I thought we agreed on July 15th at that meeting that we would come together and do this. And now you're acting like we're not cooperating, but we are. So then they came back now, Nolan's family attorney, saying, okay, any day this week, we need 24 hours notice and we'll make it happen. They're not hiding the phone. They just don't trust for the DA to have the phone alone without an independent investigation into the phone, someone who's not biased.
And, you know, Dave Mack, Crime Stories investigative reporter, the family is afraid. Many people have seen injustice in other cases that have nothing to do with them. And I believe they fear evidence will be destroyed or mishandled, and it can never be recaptured. It's very possible it could never be recaptured. I mean, you and I and Joe Scott, you did an incredible recreation in the Ellen Greenberg case, remember? Ellen Greenberg stabbed, I think, 20 plus times, including the back of the head, the back of the neck, the back, actually severing the dura of her spinal cord. And the ruling was suicide. Okay, this is what I'm leading up to. So,
yes, ma'am.
All of the evidence was not documented at the scene. The
No.
police told, this is in Philly, told the apartment manager, sure, clean it up. As a matter of fact, here's a professional cleaner. Call them. They had it professionally cleaned. Bye-bye, evidence. Gone. Gone. Not only that, the apartment manager took a video of the inside of Ellen's apartment to show basically, look, this is how it was before. This is how it is after. We want to prove we didn't take anything. We didn't steal anything. Everything is accounted for. And that's SOP, standard operating procedure. So when they didn't process the crime scene, they went, oh, thank goodness, at least we have the video. They handed the video over to Philly PD and they lost it.
Yeah.
Just let that
There's
sink
one more
in for a
thing.
moment.
There's one more
That
thing that
case
kind of ties
still-
back to. There's
Go
one more
ahead.
thing that kind of ties back to Nolan's case here as well, and that's the fact that with Ellen, I don't know if you recall this, the computer made it out of there as well. Do you recall that? And that was never examined,
yes.
right? And so that's, again, we're left wanting, Nancy,
Ellen's
relative to all
computer
of the death.
with all of the info leading up to the
Everything.
time of her murder, ruled suicide, taken off the scene. Now, I'm not claiming that the people that took it, they were family members of the fiance. For all I know, they took it because they didn't want anybody to steal it. And nothing nefarious happened. But the problem is, you lock down a family. Look what's happened to Nancy Guthrie. A pizza delivery guy came and walked right over the blood evidence to deliver a pizza. Same thing here, Dave Mack. I get why the Nolan Wells family is fearful.
Well, Nancy, this investigation, I'm putting air quotes in that because if you remember early on, it was a drowning, and no investigation had even been done. You realize he was missing. It wasn't like it was hours and they went back and he was missing for almost 2 days. And the family early on was not getting information that they felt like they should. All they're saying is, we want to be assured of the chain of custody, how the extraction on this phone is going to be performed, who would have access to the extracted data. That's important. Preservation of the evidence. And then, when is this phone going to be returned to us? This is the last thing they have of their son. And those things that I just mentioned, those were the items discussed on July 15th. And there was no follow-up after that until August 12th, when the DA's office, tells the family, well, you got 48 hours to turn the phone over, and they were out of town. So, there's a lot going on with the most important part of the evidence.
There was no way by the time they find out about the letter that they could comply with the 48-hour requirement. Susan Hendricks. Oh, my stars, Hendricks. The family is now seemingly being accused of wrongdoing because they haven't handed the phone over yet. What happened back on, I've got a big note here, phone July 15. Isn't that when the family had a meeting and said, yes, you can have the phone, but they want independent examiners there at the same time, right? Tell me July 15, what happened?
July 15th, the attorney for the parents of Nolan met and said, yes, we want to give over the phone, but we want someone in the middle here, someone from the outside, an expert to analyze the phone. It appeared everyone agreed. Then all of a sudden they get a letter saying, we want the phone and you have 24 hours to send it over. The DA sent that. And the parents were out of town and said, wait, we don't have the time to do that. Hence the narrative that they're not cooperating. Now, they say, Nolan's parents, look, we have our experts on standby this week, pick a day. And not to mention on the 19th would have been Nolan's 19th birthday, a difficult week for the family, but they say, hey, we'll give up his cell phone. We want someone, a mediator, if you will, an expert in the middle.
Well, this is interesting, what you just said. Joe Scott Morgan, professor of forensics, Jacksonville State University, which I've been there, and it is a world-class Crim Pro division. Whole building, whole floor is set up just to recreate scenes. And I was so impressed by it. Joe Scott has worked with me on multiple recreations intricate recreations at Jacksonville State University to try to figure out, is what the defendant is saying, does that make sense? Is what the state is saying, does that make sense? Just all sorts of things you can learn from actually recreating the scene. That said, Joe Scott, I have examined evidence myself at the crime lab. And you know, the crime lab out on Panthersville Road is amazing, state of the art, with the defense attorney there. And I typically would not allow a defense team to examine the evidence unless I was there. Do I think they're going to do something nefarious? Maybe, probably not. But I don't want them to even touch it if it could somehow, compromise the evidence. And it can. A lot of the times, even touching it can compromise the evidence. So this is not unheard of, that the family wants an independent investigator there when the phone is searched.
Yeah, you're right. And it happens. Nancy, I've actually been in autopsy suites with defense attorneys, believe it or not. All manner of people come through the labs over the years as an independent set of eyes. So let's just say that they do, in fact, have an independent individual examine this phone. And I think this question goes back to you as a prosecuting attorney. Would any kind of findings that were on that phone, would they be negated as a result of the state not doing? If you wanted to move forward as using this evidence in a criminal prosecution, perhaps, would it invalidate it since the state is not doing it? And what are you going to find? And how many hands are going to be on this phone at that given time?
Are you saying that if the defense did their own investigation of the phone and the state did not, would that negate the defense findings?
Yeah, because remember, we've got a grand jury that's going to be impaneled, allegedly.
HELLYES. Because the first thing, if the shoe was on the other foot, I would do is, isn't it true? I gave you the opportunity to review the phone. Isn't that true? On this date. And you didn't do it. So don't come complaining now. Oh yeah, that would be a matter for cross-exam.
Be one more person arriving at a family's worst moment with a camera. Then he spoke for over an hour. What he delivered was not a eulogy. It was a list. Questions about the boats, about a phone that did not stay with its owner, about a distress call placed in the window Nolan Wells was last seen alive, about tissue that never reached a second examination table. Some of it holds up against the record. Some of it we could not confirm, and we will tell you which parts and why. No charges have been filed, and everyone named here is entitled to the presumption of innocence. But those questions were asked out loud.
His death and accidental drowning before he did any investigation. As far as I'm concerned, that meets the definition of public corruption. As far as I'm concerned, that meets the definition of public corruption. But stand with Warren, Art. Warren, if Nolan is your brother and best friend, why did you leave him on an island without his cell phone and his keys? Why did you take his cell phone and keys back to the mainland? You left him there and took his cell phone and keys back. Can you please explain that to me? What person wants to be on an island without their phone? Help me understand that, Warren.
And see, peoples, that is exactly my point. That is exactly my point. Okay, so let's examine this for a moment. And I thought that I had the live for when Nancy Grace had the people together and they were going over the times when the boy had his phone connected to Nolan's and they had the GPS in the coordinates of where that boat had went. I'm gonna scroll through this live real quick because I want to get to that point. I don't want to listen to this guy rant and rave about all of this because I saw him earlier. So I don't think that this is the live because I think he's just going to play his little thing out and stuff. So we're going to cancel that. But we're going to get into the other part that I wanted to show. So let me go back to my history, people, because this is very important. This is very important because I was listening to this today and things, and I was like, aha. I said Nancy Grace has the experts on this. They had the experts on this in things, and you know, with the connections of the phone and things, they were able to go ahead and they were able to track that boat based upon the connections from Nolan Wells' phone and his friend's phone. So let me, okay, I think I just called that one up. So let me call this one up right here, peoples. I think this may be it. Let me put this on mute right quick. I'm just checking this video. Okay. I think this is what it is. Let's listen to this, people. God, all these damn commercials. Then we're going to get into that of what. All right, let me share my screen, peoples. Kind of a little off right now. We'll get back on track here. All right, there we go. Let's listen to this, peoples.
Okay, so before I break down a single piece of evidence, before we go anywhere near the phone, the friend who was on that island, who loved Nolan, who is black, and who sat down and talked, the autopsy, the girl, any of it, I need you to hear this interview first. Listen to every word. Listen to how he says it. Listen to what he includes and what he does not, because after you hear it, nothing about this case will feel simple anymore. Go ahead and listen.
Miss Christine, how are you and your family holding up?
A lot of praying, a lot of just leaning on each other in this moment and just taking it day by day. That's really all we can do right now. It's been hard. You know, every day is different. And really every second is different, which is something people need to understand. Grief is not one emotion, right? It's multiple emotions and they're all happening at the same time. And so it's just like 1 minute I can be I can be okay like this and I can talk about it. And then the next minute I'm breaking down in tears because it's a constant reminder, because if I'm being honest, we really just have not had time to fully grieve with everything that's going on.
This is your baby, and everyone must understand that. And Javon, I want to come to you because you're his friend. You were on the island on the 4th. You were on a different boat. Do you recall seeing him at all that day?
Yes, ma'am. I did see him when I was out there on the island.
Can you tell me what you saw? Does anything seem strange to you about the difference that people are saying of how he was separated from the group?
No, ma'am. I don't think that Nolan would say, hey, bro, I'm staying with this girl on the island. Y'all go ahead and go back, without even bringing it, like not even asking to get his phone back. You know what I mean? I don't think that any of that.
What makes you so sure about that? Because I mean, you've been with him, you've spent a lot of time with him. Did you know him to be someone to leave his phone or even say, you guys go without me?
Never. I've never known Nolan to stay back while his friends leave. He's always been a guy where if he rode with you, he's going to come back with you. That's always how he's been every single time.
You know, this friend of his, Trayston, also told ABC that video people have been talking about that was said to show some sort of altercation, it did not involve Nolan. He says it was actually him yelling in the video and that you and a family member were holding him back because he'd been in a fight. Is that accurate?
Yes, ma'am. We were common tracing down in that video where he said, "Give me my effing phone back." It sounds like him, so I'm pretty sure that he was right on that. But
Javon, I'm so sorry to think about what you must be going through and thinking about what's happened to Nolan. I mean, you mentioned a phone. Tashima, a huge question so many people have is why he would have left his cell phone behind. And you say you were the person who actually went and retrieved that phone for the family. How'd you get your hands on the phone? Where was it?
That is correct. Christine called me and told me, hey, where are the boys? Nolan hasn't been heard from since such and such time. Where are your boys? I said, well, Javon is with his girlfriend, and I just spoke with Jalen, and they are headed to downtown, which I was literally getting ready to get in the shower to go downtown as well.
Mm-hmm.
She said, well, Nolan hasn't been. So I instantly called with Christine on the phone, Javon. Javon said no, he hadn't seen Nolan since early on the island. And he was like, what? Are y'all serious? We was like, yes. And so Christine intervened in the conversation, said, Nolan has not have been heard from since he left the island.
Okay. So now, people, did you hear what the young lady had said, right? She didn't say that they said that they last seen Nolan at the 3:00 hour, right? She didn't say that. What she did say that they didn't see him since early that day. Since early that day. So the question becomes, peoples, because this content creator thinks that Nolan was killed between the 3:00 and the 4:30 hour. And I'm kind of like, well, if that be the case, then peoples, you had thousands of people around that was still there. They were supposed to had boat trouble and things and stuff. So there is nothing that ever indicates or nothing that proves that anything happened to Nolan between that time frame. And I don't really care too much about what your theory may be, because you just heard what she just said, right? So listen in, peoples. I'm going to interject, every so often, but I want you guys to listen and understand some things, peoples, and not conjure up your own thoughts and views just because you feel some type of way. Let's go.
So Javon was like, well, that's when I seen it. I haven't seen it since then. Again, everybody goes their separate ways. So I then hang up from Javon because obviously there's nothing he can say to tell me anything. So then Jalen, I call him. Jalen did not answer the phone. Christine again is on the phone. Jalen did not answer the phone. LeBaron, I called. He didn't answer the phone. I called LeBaron, which is their other friend, LeBaron Broomfield. He answered. He said, Jalen is in the gas station. Hold on. So he said, hey, Jalen, Mom on the phone. So he's like, Jalen, what's up, Mom? What's going on? I was like, hey, have y'all heard from Nolan? They said, no, we have not heard from Nolan.
But where was the phone?
So I was like, well, okay. So that's when we started checking the phone. Well, for Christine, it said one place, but for them on Snapchat, it showed another place.
Okay, so did you hear what she said? She said that the phone, when they checked it, it says one place, right? But then when they looked at the Snapchat, it says another place. So the thing is, and what she's going to tell you is that the gentleman's phone was connected to Nolan's phone. That's how they were able to track down where the boat was. Do you understand what I'm saying? See, this is what I tried to explain to the content creator earlier. If she would have just kept quiet and listened and stopped interjecting, because I know what I'm talking about, because I know what I heard. And now I'm playing to you what I've heard. This is what the young lady had said. Now, this is going to bring some validity to the stupidity of the people because they think that they know everything. But if you just keep quiet for one moment, shut your mouth and stop thinking that you know everything and stuff, and listen, you'll learn something. Now, listen to how they had tracked the boat by the phone. Let's go.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store preloaded.
I'm not familiar with all the kids. I only know like one on there, but it showed that the phone was at what a lot of people were at. So that's how we knew where to go to. We went there. They were all there. They were sitting there. Showed another place. I heard from Nolan.
But where was the phone?
So I was like, well, okay. So that's when we started tracking the phone. Well, for Christine, it said one place, but for them on Snapchat, it showed another place. So that's the place we went to. And it showed that everybody that was in the house, it was like a lot of people there. Like it was, I'm not familiar with all the kids. I only know like one on there, but it showed that the phone was at what a lot of people were at. So that's how we knew where to go to. We went there. They were all there. They were sitting there, lights off, watching TV.
Did they immediately give you the phone? Because knowing that phone was there.
It took about 15. They did. They gave me the phone, but it took about 15 minutes to get the phone because I even asked, I'm like, did y'all have to walk back to Horn Island to get the phone? Or like, where's the phone? Because it took so long when they said it was in, when Wyatt told me it was in his truck, it took him so long to get the phone back to me.
Christine,
so when they brought the phone back.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Tashima. I want to hear that.
Okay, so did you hear what she said? She said that the phone was tracked in several places. And she asked the question, did you guys have to walk back to Horns Island to get the phone? Did you hear what she said? I'm gonna rewind that, and I want you guys to listen to that because that's very important. It's very important because it shows that these people wasn't always at Horns Island for the whole entire time. And so when the content creator asks, well, where could they have gone? That's what I was trying to explain. But she just kept ranting and raving and things and stuff and didn't want to listen. That's what I was trying to tell her. Shut up and listen and learn something. Because they wasn't all in one place. They wasn't always at Horns Island. Listen to what she said, peoples. Let's rewind that just a little bit more. And I want you guys to listen attentively to what she said.
In the phone. Well, for Christine, it said one place, but for them on Snapchat, it showed another place. So that's the place we went to. And it showed that everybody that was in the house, it was like a lot of people there. Like it was, I'm not familiar with all the kids. I only know like one on there, but it showed that the phone was at what a lot of people were at. So that's how we knew where to go to. We went there. They were all there. They were sitting there, lights off, watching TV.
Did they immediately give you the phone? Because knowing that phone was there.
It took about 15. They did. They gave me the phone, but it took about 15 minutes to get the phone because I even asked, I'm like, did y'all have to walk back to Horn Island to get the phone? Or like, where's the phone? Because it took so long when they said it was in, when Wyatt told me it was in his truck, It took him so long to get the phone back to me. So when they brought the phone back.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Deshima. I want to hear that.
So Wyatt had said that the phone was in the truck, and it took them 15 minutes to get her the phone. Well, what was the phone? Because when you hear what she said, she said that no, I hear what you're saying, ma'am, but you're still not listening. I know she was being sarcastic, but you're still not listening. The phone was in different locations. I know, I know she was being sarcastic in that manner and things, but what I'm trying to tell you is if you guys would listen. So do you mind me reading what you had stated and things, or do you want to come up to the live? Because I can't hold two different conversations at one time. Okay, so this content creator had just said it had just written, no, his phone was not. They were both locked in the Snap. They were both locked in the Snapchat. A Snapchat app, if you share your location with your friends, it shows the location of the Snapchat. So via Snapchat, shared location is how they saw his last known location, which that's what I was trying to explain. She was being sarcastic when she asked, did y'all have to walk back to Horns Island? She was saying that because it was taking them forever to bring them Nolan's phone from right upstairs. Well, I know that, and I know, and I'm sure that everybody knows that. I'm sure that everybody knows that, she was being sarcastic in that manner. But my point is, when they did the Snapchat, if you listen to what she said, they were moving in different locations. Here, let me let her explain it, because she can explain it better than I can. Let me rewind that back. And I want you guys to listen to what she said. So let me go back to that right here. We're going to start at the 5 minute hour.
In the phone. Well, for Christine, it's at one place, but seen it. I haven't seen it since then. Again, everybody goes their separate ways. So I then hang up from Javon because obviously there's nothing he can say to tell me anything. So then Jalen, I call him. Jalen did not answer the phone. Christine, again, is on the phone. Jalen did not answer the phone. LeBaron, I called, he didn't answer the phone. I called LeBaron, which is their other friend, LeBaron Broomfield. He answered. He said, Jalen is in the gas station. Hold on. So he said, hey, Jalen, Mom on the phone. So he was like, Jalen, what's up, Mom? What's going on? I was like, hey, have y'all heard from Nolan? They said, no, we have not heard from Nolan.
But where was the phone?
So I was like, well, okay. So that's when we started checking the phone. Well, for Christine, it's at one place, but for them on Snapchat, it showed another place. So that's the place we went to. And it showed that everybody that was in the house, it was like a lot of people there. Like it was, I'm not familiar with all the kids. I only know like one or two there, but it showed that the phone was at what a lot of people were at. So that's how we knew where to go to. We went there. They were all there. They were sitting there, lights off, watching TV.
Did they immediately give you the phone? Because knowing that phone was there.
It took about 15. They did. They gave me the phone, but it took about 15 minutes to get the phone. Because I even asked, I'm like, did y'all have to walk back to Horn Island to get the phone? Or like, where's the phone? Because it took so long when they said it was in, when Wyatt told me it was in his truck, it took him so long to get the phone back to me.
Christine,
so when they brought the phone back.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Deshima. I want to hear that.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store.
When they brought the phone, after I said something about it, he was like, well, she's going to get it. I was like, who's going to get it? He's like, the girl's going to get the phone.
Nolan Wells was the only black person in his group that day. Everyone else with him was white. That is not an accusation. That is a documented fact, and it matters. Because it is the lens through which every single piece of what I am about to tell you has to be understood. This is not just a story about a missing phone. This is the story of what happens when the only black witness to a black boy's final hours steps forward, and the account he gives raises more questions. Then it answers. Treston Shepard said that he and his group of friends, which included Wells, had been drinking alcohol since the late morning after multiple boats, all containing his friends, arrived on the island for an outing planned to be one last hurrah before returning to either school or work.
Okay, people, so let's put that in perspective now. And it's just like the Kanika Jenkins case. Remember, it was stated that Kanika came to the establishment at a certain time, right? And then when she got there, she started to drink. And she started to drink, and she was drinking, and she was drinking, and she was drinking. And it's just so happened that she was the one who ended up drinking way more than everybody else. And then all of a sudden, she just happens to get up and walk out the room and go start wandering some halls of an establishment where you have thousands of people at that hotel. And nobody happens to see her roam the hotel. But yet she managed to roam the hotels without nobody seeing her. Well, that's the same case with Nolan Wells. See, the premise is that he was drinking. He was drinking. And they started drinking earlier in the daytime. So now, if you ever listen to the various things that the people were saying about Nolan, they said that he was a responsible person. It's just like what his friend said, the black kid that you just heard. Nolan was the type of person, well, if he came to Horns Island on the boat with these people, well, then he wouldn't have stayed there and stated that he was going to be with some girl. No, he would have came back on the same boat with the same people that he came with, which in essence says that he is a responsible person. So based upon his friend and how he characterized Nolan, he is basically saying my friend is a person who is responsible. But notice how that drinking is going to play a key factor in all of this, because now what the people are trying to allude to is that Nolan got so drunk that he let down his inhibitions and he was thinking and doing stupid stuff. Basically, is what they're saying. Because see, anytime that they want to involve alcohol into a situation, there's always got to be that one that just does way more than anybody else. But according to the people, Nolan wasn't that type of kid. According to the people that knows him. Not the people who proclaims that they know him. Not the people who proclaims that, oh, well, he's my brother. Or he's my best friend. Do you understand what I'm saying, peoples? So we're going to listen to what this young man had to say about Nolan and describing his character, his mannerisms and everything in the last time that he had saw him. Peoples. All right. Let's listen in, peoples.
About 300 people, many of them former high school classmates, were gathered near them on the island. 300 people on a remote, federally protected barrier island, with no staff, no drinking water, no shelter, no facilities. And somewhere inside of that, Nolan Wells vanished.
Now, I want you guys to look at the island and look at the boats, and look at the people. Now, I want you to picture the scenario there, peoples, because this is the island. This is the people out there on the boat and everything. So, how is it that a young black kid, out of all of these people, now see, the other guy that gave the interview with Officer Tatum said that it was thousands of people. But this commentator said that it was about 300 people. The young man in the interview with Officer Tatum said that it was wall-to-wall people from one end to the other end. And it was 3 rows of boats. I don't know when this video was taken. Doesn't look like it's many people there. Everybody is there, and people look to having a good time and things and stuff, but it doesn't seem to be 4,000 people as the boy had alluded to the people being there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, whether it's 4,000 or whether it's 300, still on the island, you can see from one end to the other end, peoples. There's no trees, there's nothing. It's all just open land and all open sand. So if there's ever been an altercation or anything, you had all of these people right there to actually see anything going down. So the question becomes, how could a young black kid just come up missing? And see, my thing is this: if the people was telling the truth about Nolan, well, then why lie? Why lie? If you were telling the truth about your accounts and all of the things that you've seen and stuff, why is it that you need to lie? It's no reason to lie, right? I mean, it's just a cut and dry case. If it was to a degree to where he ended up getting drunk and slipped under the water or whatever and stuff, and nobody can find him, okay, well, I can see that, But why lie behind the various things? Why lie about your movements? Why try to cover up all of the stuff that you guys proclaimed that you had did? So it's because of that, peoples. It's why I say that this ain't nothing simple as a accidental drowning or anything. No, it was something serious that went on, and that the people are not talking. Because when you look at the autopsy and the autopsy photos and stuff, it shows a different story, peoples. See, if you got something to hide, you're going to lie about it. Just like in the Kanika Jenkins case, all of the friends lied. They lied about Kanika and the things that was going on and stuff. Well, if you ain't got nothing to hide, why lie? Right? But they lied, peoples. And because they lied, now we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. Because, see, the thing is, peoples, the evidence and forensics doesn't lie. Do you understand what I'm saying? Science doesn't lie. People lie, but science doesn't lie. But we're catching them in a lie. And we're going to point that out, peoples. Let's listen in.
Here is the question we are sitting with today, and it is not the one most people are asking. The question is not whether the viral video shows Nolan arguing. The question is this: if the only black friend on that island, the one who publicly claimed the screaming voice in that video as his own, if he is telling the truth, then what actually sent Nolan to the water? And why does the evidence around his phone, his keys, and his body still not add up into a clean single story? That is what we are digging into today. Now, the video. Let's start there, because the video is where everything broke open, and where Tristan Shepard stepped directly into the center of this story. After Nolan's body was recovered, a video recorded near the island on July 4th was widely circulated on social media. In that video, someone can be heard yelling as if in a heated argument. Attorney Ben Crump, who represents Wells' parents, said that Wells is among a group of people standing on the island and can be heard on the video demanding his phone back. Crump said on the record, "This video, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying, 'Give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?'" That was the family's position. That was what Ben Crump put in front of cameras at a press conference, with Nolan's parents standing right there. But then Tristan Shepard sat down with Good Morning America and said something that stopped the internet cold. A friend of Wells who was with the group that day, Tristan Shepard, said it was actually him yelling in the video. Shepard said on Good Morning America that he and the friend group that accompanied Wells on Independence Day have been wrongly accused of foul play. "That's me yelling," Shepard said. Let that land for a second. The voice in that video, the voice that was being attributed to a dead 18-year-old, asking for his phone back, in what sounded like fear, that voice, according to Shepard, was him. Shepard stated the confrontation involved himself, not Wells, and another man over Shepard's girlfriend. Rolling Stone reported that Shepard's account of the confrontation has been corroborated by Shepard's girlfriend and by his uncle, both of whom were present on the island. That is meaningful. That is not just one person saying one thing. There is corroboration. His girlfriend was there, his uncle was there, both of them backed his account. And then there is Javon Williams, the other black friend, the other voice from inside that group. Another of Wells's friends, Javon Williams, challenged Crump's interpretation during an interview with TMZ. That altercation, it sounds just like my other friend who got into another altercation on the boat, Williams said. He added, as he was in that altercation, I was trying to calm him down. They were trying to get him out, off the island, trying to get him back to land. Notice this. Javon Williams is black. Both Williams and Shepard are black or biracial. These are not outsiders to Nolan's world. These are the people he went to that island with. The people who said he was their brother. And they are the ones now telling investigators and the press that the video everyone was using as evidence of foul play was not Nolan. But here is where it gets complicated. Javon Williams, another friend who also saw Wells on July 4th, said it's not like Wells to separate from the group he came with. Read that again. Williams is saying, the yelling was not Nolan. He is clearing the video. But in the same breath, he is also saying the idea that Nolan would just stay behind does not sit right with him either. That matters, because it is not the friend group closing ranks. It is a friend telling the truth as he saw it on both sides. Now let's go to the phone, because the phone is where this case reveals something nobody can fully explain. Wells didn't make it back to the mainland, but his phone and car keys did. Sit with that for 1 second. His phone left the island without him. His mother used an app to track Wells's phone. And after a friend went to where it was on land to pick it up, she noticed that some of his messages appeared to have been deleted. Rather than being recovered with his body, the phone was allegedly found in the possession of one of the friends who had joined him on the island. Nolan's mother said she located it using the Life 360 app after the group returned to shore. Now, the official account from the friend group is that Nolan chose to stay behind. He met a girl. He was going to catch a different ride home. That is what Tristan Shepard said on Good Morning America. He told ABC that he took a boat back from Horn Island in the late afternoon of July 4th, and Wells stayed behind with a girl he had met. They met that day, Shepard told GMA, and he really did like her. That is the reason. That is the explanation for why the boat left without Nolan. He wanted to stay. But here is the fracture in that story. Friends reportedly told investigators that Nolan chose to remain on Horn Island after speaking with a young woman and intended to catch another ride back. According to Crump, however, the young woman later said Nolan returned to the boat, contradicting the friend's account. That inconsistency has become one of the central questions surrounding the investigation. One more time.
Bingo peoples. Bingo to the bingo peoples. It was stated that Nolan Xavier Wells did not stay up on the island, but returned to the boat. Returned to the boat, right? Because the young lady stated that he didn't stay on the island with her. He returned to the boat. So you see the inconsistencies in the stories and the things that the kids are saying, right? Some things was corroborated, some things wasn't. So then the question becomes, why did the people lie in the first place? You know, because if the accounts didn't happen in the manner to which they're trying to express it to the people, and if Nolan's black friend is saying that Nolan is a responsible kid, why is the white people lying? Why is these honkies lying? Well, let's see.
Because this is the contradiction that the family is living inside of every single day. The friends say, Nolan stayed for a girl. The girl says, he came back to the boat. Those two things cannot both be true. One of them is wrong. And right now, no one has publicly resolved which one. Nearly a month after Wells disappeared from Horn Island, many of the central questions surrounding his final hours remain unanswered, including why he didn't return on the boat with his friends or have his cell phone with him.
Hey, we're art storefronts, and we're not a marketplace. When fine artists and photographers are first...
And then there is what Nolan's father experienced the night he went looking for answers. This is the detail that keeps coming back, the one planted in the earliest press conferences, and one that investigators have never formally addressed. The father asserted that he had a difficult time retrieving Wells's keys from one of the individuals in the friend group. Elmore said during the July press conference that he arrived at the house where Wells left his vehicle before venturing out to Horn Island. When he asked for his son's keys, he was reportedly given the runaround by the friend who was believed to have possessed them. Elmore said, I said, I'm Nolan's father. I'm here to get his keys so I can get his car. He was like, I don't know, man. This is a father. His son is missing. He does not know yet that Nolan is dead. He is standing at a door asking for his son's keys. And the person on the other side of that door is hesitating. Think about what that means. That is not an accusation of murder. It is not evidence of anything on its own, but it is a moment. And it is a moment that Nolan's father remembered well enough to speak it into a press conference microphone.
Okay, so there's that word, murder. They didn't say accident, peoples. He said murder. Now, this content creator is saying murder. Just like Officer Tatum had said murder. And we're going to get into that too, peoples. I'm going to rewind this back. I want you guys to listen to the words he's saying. He didn't say drowning. He didn't say accident. He said murder. Let that sink in, peoples. Let me rewind this just a little bit so you can get a clear-cut understanding what he had just stated, peoples.
Before venturing out to Horn Island. When he asked for his son's keys, he was reportedly given the runaround by the friend who was believed to have possessed them. Elmore said, I said, I'm Nolan's father. I'm here to get his keys so I can get his car. He was like, I don't know, man. This is a father. His son is missing. He does not know yet that Nolan is dead. He is standing at a door asking for his son's keys, and the person on the other side of that door is hesitating. Think about what that means. That is not an accusation of murder. It is not evidence of anything on its own, but it is a moment. And it is a moment that Nolan's father remembered well enough to speak it into a press conference microphone.
Did you hear what he said? He said it's not an accusation of murder. That's what he said, right? That's what he said. He said it's not an accusation of murder. Okay, so we're going to stop it right there for a moment because we're going to go back. We're going to go back to that live. We're going to go back to the live of Officer Tatum because I want you to hear what Officer Tatum had said, and then we're going to get back to this. But let me call that video up. Let me go back in my history. Got to go back in my history, peoples, because I got to call that video up because Officer Tatum had said that the kids did not want to be implicated in a murder. That's why they didn't come forward. He said that. I didn't. He said that. And I caught it because I was listening to my live again earlier and stuff, and I caught what he said, and I was like, whoa. He said that the kids did not want to testify because they didn't want to be implicated in a murder. That's what he said. That's what he said. Let me here's the live right here. I'm going to bring it over. I'm going to share my screen up on there, and we're going to listen to this, peoples, because now we're getting somewhere. Now you're beginning to see how all of this stuff is shaping up and the various things that the people said. Because, see, he is supposed to be protecting the kids, but instead of protecting the kids, he called them out. Let me see if I can find it, peoples.
A diverse group of people. We have a diverse friend group. All of these things is what is said on this side. Very welcoming.
No, I don't think it's this with Como. Or was it? Yeah, it was with Como.
On that boat and something was done to him, there's no way. You're right about reticence of wanting to come forward, especially once the media circus started. But there's no way investigators don't have that.
Oh,
no
100%.
way.
Here's the
No
thing that I think that Nolan's parents and Benjamin Crump pushed in the beginning, which I think caused all this. Why wouldn't they just be honest and tell that law enforcement had spoke to 60 witnesses right when Nolan had died, 3 weeks before this? They acted as if the boys weren't cooperating. She said they.
Brandon Tatum, thank you for joining us again.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
How has the reporting that you did in Mississippi and the interviews that you did, how has it been received?
It depends on what group of people you're referring to. I think that for rational people that, in my opinion, want to know the truth in their account and they can make their decision from there, it was received very well. People are thankful, very thankful that I took the time to interview these young boys and they got a little more clarity. When it comes to majority Black community, some of the celebrities, D.L. Hughley and others, they absolutely hate me. They think I'm Satan, and they think.
Brandon Tatum, thank you for joining us again.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
How has the reporting that you did in Mississippi and the interviews that you did, how has it been received?
It depends on what group of people you're referring to. I think that for rational people that, in my opinion, want to know the truth and they're open-minded. I think it was received very well. They got access to information that wasn't privy to the public. Obviously, law enforcement has this information already, but information that people who are interested in finding the truth wanted to hear from these young boys and their account, and they can make their decision from there. It was received very well. People are thankful, very thankful that I took the time to interview these young boys, and they got a little more clarity. When it comes to majority Black community, some of the celebrities, D.L. Hughley and others, they absolutely hate me. They think I'm Satan, and they think that I hate my mama, who's Black, just because I decided to interview people who asked me to interview them. And I don't know how people have conflated what I have done in this interview or in this process, but they have. And this is not abnormal. When you're Black in America and you don't toe the line of where, quote unquote, the Black community wants you to, then you're deemed an Uncle Tom, coon, sellout. You somehow hate your people, and you somehow working for the white man, which is furthest from the truth, man. I love everybody. I don't care nothing about race. It's pointless to think about race. I treat people based on their character, based on their integrity, based on what they present to me, and that's the end of the story.
Why do you think members of the Black, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Celebrity community, whatever it is, Black people whose names we know, why do you think that they come at you that way? You think it's about your politics, or do you think that they are worried about something that you're not showing enough concern about in their estimation?
No, a lot of these people are ignorant. They're brainwashed and emotional. None of them are addressing actual things that I said and actual processes that I went through to interview. They do not care about the truth, or many of them would have interviewed me and just asked me what happened and what did I do. None of them, even those who claim to be journalists, did not give an opportunity to the other side for the other side to have a voice. They did not. And the reason why is because they're white. And a lot of them actually hate white people. And they act like they don't. Listen to their rhetoric. Listen to the things that they've said in the past. They hate white people internally. And so when a topic comes up like this and there's an opportunity to paint white people with a broad brush, they take advantage of it. And I've seen it over the years. I've seen it growing up. I used to hate white people when I was growing up. That's just a part of the culture. And unfortunately, it rears its ugly head as soon as one of these incidents happen. And you've seen it time and time again. Go look at the comment section. How does young men who we don't really have any evidence that committed a crime, how do they get painted as criminals? How do they get painted as being responsible for the death of a person that was considered their friend? Mm. If the roles were reversed, this would be maddening.
You know what it's like to confront racism. You know it on many different levels, right? You know it as a Black man, you know it as a Black athlete, you know it as a Black cop, you know it as a Black political advocate, you know it on a lot of levels. When you met these people, their families, what did that special or if unfortunate radar that you have built into you, what was your read on these people and the vibe in this community vis-a-vis Nolan Wells?
It was incredible. They were normal people. They seemed like great families. They seemed like they raised their children right. And the interesting thing, they had nothing but great things to say about Nolan. They all were very thankful for Nolan. They were all saddened. Even some of the parents cried when we were talking about Nolan. They were very distraught that Nolan had passed away. And they all seemed like if you go to that side that I went and talked to the people on that side, they all seemed to love Nolan. This was a loss for everybody. And there was no racial animus. They all have Black friends and everybody get along. Everybody that I talked to is like, no, the race is not a thing here. We all love everybody. Horn Island is full of a diverse group of people. We have a diverse friend group. All of these things is what is said on this side. Very welcoming. And I do not think that's the case on the other side.
Have you ever wanted to see your home from space? With this free satellite Earth Maps tool, you can zoom right down to.
Why do there have to be sides, and how do you define the other side?
Well, I don't think there should be sides, but these groups have, and I would argue that Nolan's parents and Benjamin Crump have taken a side. I said this on my live stream yesterday. I said, this should have been a community effort. When your son goes missing, when Nolan's loss is a loss for everybody. It's a loss for his parents, his siblings, his family, his friends, his coach, his football team, the community at large, everybody lost Nolan. The effort that I think should have been brought forward is that everybody should come together to find out what happened to Nolan. These parents should be talking to these parents about who saw this boy last and what happened. That was not the case because people interjected race into this. Immediately, Nolan Wells' side says they went out with white boys. Something must have happened. The justice system is flawed, inevitably, because once upon a time in Mississippi, there's racial things that had happened against black people. But in perpetuity, white people cannot be trusted, and everything must be a fraud because there's white people and my son is black. That to me destroyed the community and made it into a partisan thing or a separation thing versus a united front. And we could see that because people were telling me when I was out there interviewing people that people in the community are terrified. There's people that they think know more, but they're afraid to say anything. Because even if you didn't have nothing to do with Nolan's death, if you say, I saw him last, you could be painted as a suspect in a murder. And they will blast you and drag your name through the mud and threaten your life. You know, Chris, the young boy Trayston can't even go to a store. He went to buy a Gatorade and he said, your money's not welcome here. Black people turned their backs on Trayston and he wasn't even really accused in this situation. And the boys warned them were somewhere else in another state. And people were screaming at them at a restaurant, kicked them out, said, say his name. What does that tell you? That tells you that the narrative has been set that they did it. It's not an open-minded scenario. It's not a we want to know what happened. It's that they've painted these boys as they're criminals. And all the information that I have thus far, there is no indication whatsoever that they were even there when Nolan passed away. And I have seen video. I've seen all kinds of evidence. The police have interviewed these kids already. They've given their cell phones over to the FBI. I mean, in my opinion, based on what they've shown me, they've done everything the right way.
Now, notice he said, and he mentioned murder earlier. We're going to rewind that back. But notice he said that they given their cell phones to the FBI. No, they didn't, peoples. These kids haven't given nothing to no one. The only thing that they gave was their little statements and things, and that was it. But this guy is just lying up a storm. The FBI is not even involved yet. But he's saying that he's got all of the videos, he's got all of this, he's got all of that and stuff. But he's just sitting up here blatantly lying. Well, if we say something, then they're going to be implicated in a murder. Let's rewind that, peoples. Let's rewind that.
And what happened? That was not the case because people interjected race into this. Immediately, Nolan Wells' side says they went out with white boys. Something must have happened. The justice system is flawed, inevitably, because once upon a time in Mississippi, there's racial things that had happened against black people. But in perpetuity, white people cannot be trusted, and everything must be a fraud because there's white people and my son is black. That to me destroyed the community and made it into a partisan thing or a separation thing versus a united front. And we could see that because people were telling me when I was out there interviewing people that people in the community are terrified. There's people that they think know more, but they're afraid to say anything. Because even if you didn't have nothing to do with Nolan's death, if you say, I saw him last, you could be painted as a suspect in a murder.
See? Did you hear what he said? And look at Como. Look at Como. He said that if the people was to say anything, you can be painted as a suspect in a murder. And Como is sitting here like, dude, you fucking up. What are you saying? See, even Officer Tatum thinks that it was a murder. He didn't mix no words, people. There it is. The evidence is right there and it's in your face. He said it. You can be painted as a suspect in a murder. But who said that it was a murder? He believes it because he said it. That's why the people are not coming forth. Now, this is the part that I wanted to get people in. I'm going to have to screenshot this. So y'all just going to have to bear with me for a moment and give me a moment. I'm fit to call up my software so I can get this part. I don't want to download the whole thing. I just want to just screenshot and get this part and stuff because I'm going to put this up on TikTok. And I'm going to capture the other part as well. But now Officer Tatum thinks it was a murder. Because if it wasn't no murder, peoples, then what is it? He didn't mix words. He told you it was a murder. You just heard what he said, right? Boy, you guys are going to listen to me one day. See, I capture all of the juicies, peoples. You know, I don't miss nothing. I go back and I listen. I look and I listen. I look and I listen. And when you go back and you look and you listen, you learn. He said that's why the people didn't want to come up because they will be a suspect in a murder. That's what he said. So if he didn't think it was a murder, people, so then why would he say that? Right? Okay, let me rewind this back a little bit. Okay, I'm going to have to move this over so get that part. Okay, start screenshotting. Let's go.
Everybody that I talk to is like, no, the race is not a thing here. We all love everybody. Horn Island is full of a diverse group of people. We have a diverse friend group. All of these things is what is said on this side. Very welcoming. And I do not think that's the case on the other side.
Why do there have to be sides, and how do you define the other side?
Well, I don't. And the reason why is because they're white, and a lot of them actually hate white people, and they act like they don't. Listen to their rhetoric. Listen to the things that they've said in the past. They hate white people internally, and so when a topic comes up like this, and there's an opportunity to paint white people with a broad brush, they take advantage of it. And I've seen it over the years. I've seen it growing up. I used to hate white people when I was growing up. That's just a part of the culture. And unfortunately, it rears its ugly head as soon as one of these incidents happen. And you've seen it time and time again. Go look at the comment section. How does young men who we don't really have any evidence that committed a crime, how do they get painted as criminals? How do they get painted as being responsible for the death of a person that was considered their friend? If the roles were reversed, this would be maddening.
You know what it's like to confront racism. You know it on many different levels, right? You know it as a black man, you know it as a black athlete, you know it as a black cop, you know it as a black political advocate, you know it on a lot of levels. When you met these people, their families, what did that special or if unfortunate radar that you have built into you, what was your read on these people and the vibe in this community vis-a-vis Nolan Wells?
It was incredible. They were normal people. They seemed like great families. They seemed like they raised their children right. And the interesting thing, they had nothing but great things to say about Nolan. They all were very thankful for Nolan. They were all saddened. Even some of the parents cried when we were talking about Nolan. They were very distraught that Nolan had passed away. And you know, they all seemed like if you go to that side that I went and talked to the people on that side, they all seemed to love Nolan. This was a loss for everybody. And there was no racial animus. They all have black friends and everybody get along. Everybody that I talk to is like, no, the race is not a thing here. We all love everybody. Horn Island is full of a diverse group of people. We have a diverse friend group. All of these things is what is said on this side. Very welcoming. And I do not think that's the case on the other side.
Why do there have to be sides, and how do you define the other side?
Well, I don't think there should be sides, but these groups have, and I would argue that Nolan's parents and Benjamin Crump have taken a side. I said this on my live stream yesterday. I said, this should have been a community effort. When your son goes missing, when Nolan's loss is a loss for everybody. It's a loss for his parents, his siblings, his family, his friends, his coach, his football team, the community at large. Everybody lost Nolan. The effort that I think should have been brought forward is that everybody should come together to find out what happened to Nolan. These parents should be talking to these parents about who saw this boy last and what happened. That was not the case because people interjected race into this. Immediately, Nolan Wells' side says they went out with white boys. Something must have happened. The justice system is flawed, inevitably, because once upon a time in Mississippi, there's racial things that had happened against black people. But in perpetuity, white people cannot be trusted, and everything must be a fraud because there's white people and my son is black. That to me destroyed the community and made it into a partisan thing or a separation thing versus a united front. And we can see that because people were telling me when I was out there interviewing people that people in the community are terrified. There's people that they think know more, but they're afraid to say anything. Because even if you didn't have nothing to do with Nolan's death, if you say, I saw him last, you could be painted as a suspect in a murder. And they will blast you and drag your name through the mud and threaten your life. You know, Chris, the young boy Trayston can't even go to a store. He went to buy a Gatorade and he said, your money's not welcome here. Black people turned their backs on Trayston and he wasn't even really accused in this situation. And the boys warned them were somewhere else in another state. And people were screaming at them at a restaurant, kicked them out, said, say his name. What does that tell you? That tells you that the narrative has been set that they did it. It's not an open-minded scenario. It's not a we want to know what happened. It's that they've painted these boys as they're criminals. And
that's all that I needed right there, peoples. He went out and he interviewed people. And the reason why that these people are not coming forth because they can be a suspect in a murder investigation. Well, how could it be a murder investigation, peoples? Was it deemed a murder? See, you know, you got to listen attentively, peoples, when the people are talking, because they talk out the side of their head, but in essence, they talk about what they truly feel and believe. And I know what I heard. And I got what I needed right now. And I'm going to post this all up on TikTok because Officer Potato fucked up. He fucked up. And there's other things that I'm going to point out in that interview that he did with that kid when I posted the live on yesterday. I got so much more, people's, but this time I'm going to be a little bit more prepared in things, you know, with the segments that I'm going to be posting, because I'm going back over that segment that he had did with that interview with that young boy, because I haven't finished that. But I know when I was going back and listening to my live today, and I said, well, damn, he believes that it was a murder. Because he said, and you guys just heard him, he had interviewed the people out there. And the reason why the people don't want to come forth because they're going to be implicated in a murder investigation. So what is it that he knows that we don't know? Well, he've already spilled the beans because all of this evidence is being given to the grand jury peoples. This is a murder investigation, whether you know it or not. And he had already spoken it. And on Edward Joseph Let's Talk Live, you're finally hearing it from the horse's mouth. Yes, it is a murder investigation, peoples. Now, I want the defense attorneys to sue me, because yes, it is a murder investigation, and those kids are going to go up for murder. Did you hear what I said? I said those kids are going to go up for murder because they killed Nolan. We don't know exactly who did it, but if you are an accessory to the crime, well, you're going to get the time just like the person who actually did the crime. It ain't no way that he had the kind of contusions and things on his head from water, peoples. That boy was hit in the head with something. His body was taken to Washington face down. Face down. Did you hear what I said? Face down. It's a murder investigation, peoples. And he just said it. So I'm going to put this together because I'm going to get the clippings of the autopsy sketches along with his commentary, and I'm going to post it all up on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Watch my work, peoples. And then I'm going to get this clipping of what this guy had just stated about murder. Got to get that clipping too. But see, peoples, that's what happens when you have an attentive ear. You go and you listen attentively and you take these things out of what the people are saying. And then you hold it against them to account because they said it. I didn't. See, I know what I'm saying. And I challenge the people to sue me. Defense attorney, sue me. That's why you guys are doing the GoFundMe thing, because your clients is going to be arrested pretty soon once the grand jury convenes on charges of murder and probably on charges of a hate crime, which is an automatic life sentence. See, what's done in the dark will always come to the light at some point. And so the thing is, people, these kids can't get away with murder. Ain't no way that they're going to get away with murder. Do you understand what I'm saying? Ain't no way that they're going to get away with murder. Boy, this guy just got beat. Wow. This guy just got beat. And his cell phone taken. That's crazy. let me capture this, and I'm gonna post it to my thing because I got a live that I gotta do, peoples. Got a live that I gotta do. So I'm gonna capture that, post that right there. All right. So let's go back to the video that we was just watching earlier. So let me remove this. Let me call it this and share this screen. Let me rewind it back a little bit and let's get to the part to where he was talking about murder. It's not an accusation of murder. But Officer Tatum think it was a murder. So let me capture that little clip. So 1416. So let me rewind it back just a little bit. Let me call this up and I'm going to screen record this and let me play it. All right, I got what I needed, people. So I'm going to put that together. All right, so let's listen in to what they got to say. See, that's what happens, people. When you are attentive to the various things that the people say, that you can call them out to the carpet. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the father is not accusing of anybody of murder. The father is not accusing anybody of murder, but obviously Officer Tatum believes that is murder. You heard what he said, right? Watch my TikTok video, people, my little short, because I'm going to blast his ass all over TikTok, Facebook, Rumble, and Reddit. You know, I'm going to blast it. And thank you, Michelle. Thank you, because see, I see that you're commenting on the Facebook post and things and stuff, and you said Captain Evans at 9 and Mark at 10:45. So you caught a segment in the live, and you're talking about the time. I love it when the people are engaging in understanding and piecing this together. See, if you guys had watched the live on last night, boy, you missed a treat. Go on ahead and watch that live on last night. But tonight you're learning something. Tonight we're going a little further. Tonight we're putting a little bit more pieces of the puzzle together. See, the thing is, peoples, and I'm just giving you revelation. And revelation is that these kids are going to be charged with murder. I'm saying that. And I want this defense attorney to come and sue me for defamation of character and anything else that they think that they can get away with. I'm saying that soon as the grand jury convenes, some, if not all of these kids are going to be implicated in a murder cover-up. It'd be just like what they call it when you're convicting a lot of people at one time. RICO, a RICO murder investigation. The evidence is crystal clear, people. So I really don't give two rat's asses what Officer Potato says. He just revealed what he knows. This is a murder investigation. And these kids is going to be charged. Because if it wasn't people's, they wouldn't be working so hard to try to cover it up. But let me give you a little secret, peoples. The secret is in Nolan Xavier Wells' phone. That's the secret, because let me give you a little tidbit hint, peoples. Whatever that phone was gives a GPS tracking number system. And because they had his phone, wherever they went in that boat or truck or whatever, all of that has been tracked by his phone. That's why the DA wanted that phone so bad. But she couldn't get her hands upon it like that, peoples. And all of this evidence is going to the grand jury. And the grand jury is going to come back with an indictment upon all of these kids. Mark my words, peoples. Watch what I say. So, see, I'm not going to sit here and go live and be sensationalized with all of this madness that all of these other YouTubers are doing and things. I'm just only going back and giving you that of what they said and holding them account to what they said. That's it. That's it. You know? So if they're going to lie, well, then lie, but you're going to cry after you lie. Do you understand what I'm saying? So you know what you did, and you're going to have to pay the piper for the various things that you did. So might as well enjoy your little freedom right now, because it ain't going to last too long. Do you understand what I'm saying, peoples? So let's listen into this, peoples.
That is the detail that nobody in the official investigation has explained. Attorney Crump raised it. The family raised it. According to Crump, Wells's friends took the teen's phone with them when they left Horn Island. Crump said when Wells's family got his phone back, messages had been deleted. Now, whether messages were deleted intentionally, whether they were deleted before the phone left the island or after, whether it was one person or multiple people who had access to that phone, none of that has been formally established by investigators. None of that is in a warrant or an affidavit that is publicly available right now. What is established is that the phone came back without Nolan, and that when the family got it back, something was gone. Investigators have specifically asked for original, unedited photos and videos taken on July 4th, particularly those depicting alleged altercations or containing images of or believed to include Nolan Wells. The word unedited. Investigators use the word unedited. They are asking specifically for original, unaltered footage. That tells you something. It tells you that investigators are at least aware that some of what exists may have been touched. The sheriff's office stressed that the investigation is ongoing and urged anyone who was on or near the northwest tip of Horn Island to come forward with photos or videos, particularly those depicting alleged altercations or containing images of or believed to include Nolan Wells. Weeks in. And law enforcement is still asking the public for footage. Now, the caller who contacted Cito stated that the boat had, quote, like 7 passengers, and when asked about the well-being of the passengers by the dispatcher said, yeah, everybody is on board. Hudson stated that they received assistance from another boater nearby. Cito stated they did not tow the boat after the caller informed them the issue had been resolved, but the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources states the boat was towed 2.75 miles before resuming normal operations. The caller said everybody is on board. Nolan was not on board. Now, to be precise here, we do not know when that call was made relative to when Nolan chose to stay behind. We do not know if the caller was referring specifically to their boat's original group or if the caller was making a general statement.
Okay, so did you just hear what he said? He said that they don't have no absolute clue when the call was made. So when I challenged the content creator that I was talking to earlier, when she was saying, "Oh, well, the call was like about 3 something or 4 something when the call was made," well, no, ma'am, you just heard what the guy had said, that there is no evidence whatsoever that proves that the call was made at 4:30 or whatever time you said, the time that you think that Nolan had died and things. See, people, when people get a little bit too big for their britches and then they just run off at the mouth and thinking that they know all of everything and stuff, well, then I'm here to bring clarity out of confusion. Until we get the actual call logs that clearly shows the time, well, then shut your mouth. Shut your mouth and stop talking to me thinking that you know everything. See, because I'll be the very one that shows you up for the various madness that you speak. You ain't the only one that has done and followed this case as well. Now, I don't follow every YouTuber and things, but I follow those people who have reputable reputations, who has experts that comes on and speaks about the case and speaks about the various things that is taking place. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so if you was like me, well, then you'll be able to capture the various things that the people are saying and then call them out for nefarious madness that they be speaking. But see, you didn't catch what I had just showed you now, because Officer Potato considered this as a murder investigation. He just told you. And this guy just told you that the father did not come being accusatory of the people, stating that it was a murder investigation. So now we have 2 different people speaking about murder. But we know it was murder because when you look at the autopsy sketches and things and you read the report, the doctor is pretty much saying that this is a murder investigation without actually saying that it's a murder investigation. You got to listen to the terminology that he uses in order to describe the contusion that he had on the back of his head. Do you understand what I'm saying? Nolan got hit with something and somebody saw something. And then the adverse and crazy things that the kids were doing. They're out at 11 o'clock at night calling the mother, asking the mother, well, did Nolan call you? Well, how the fuck could Nolan call her when they had the keys and phone? You know, that's just nothing but guilt, peoples. They're giving themselves away. They're guilty as fucking sin. You call the mother at 11 something at night asking her if she's seen her son or spoke to her son, knowing good and well you got the goddamn phone and keys. See, people, it doesn't take a goddamn rocket scientist to figure out that this is some crazy shit that these kids is doing. And they're trying to cover up their tracks, but see, they're not smart enough. Because as it is written, whatever's done in the dark shall come to the light. Whatever you sow, that shall you also reap. Now, these kids is going to reap the various things that they sown. Because if you look in this picture, there's one color and it's all white around. Here's the only chocolate Hershey bar that's standing in the middle of a white patch. Crackers. And he's the only dot. All right, people, so let's listen in.
These are questions that investigators have and that nobody has answered publicly. But the phrase, everybody is on board, when a boy whose life they are asking about was already on that island, without a phone, without a way home, that phrase sits heavy. The GPS data shows the boat's movements. Investigators have that. They know where the boat went. They know the timeline of the electrical issue. They have the sea tow call. They have the GPS, and the investigation is still active. No.
Did you just hear what he said, peoples? And I tried to tell the content creator this, but she didn't want to listen to me. They got the GPS. They got the movements of the boat and where the boat had went. They got everything. Because like I told the content creator, we're trying to tell her, the phone was on the boat, stupid. And they were able to track it through the cell phone and other means. So they know exactly where the boat has been. God damn, you know, people are so goddamn more stupid than what they realize. All you got to do is just shut your goddamn mouth and listen. I've been trying to tell you, but you don't want to listen. That's people's problem. They all the time got their goddamn mouths open, but they never want to listen. The authorities have the GPS coordinates of the boat. Let me say that again, peoples. I said that the authorities has the GPS coordinates of the boat. They know exactly where that boat was at all times, peoples. Wake up and smell the fucking coffee, peoples. And stop trying to interject when people are trying to educate your ass upon something. Let me rewind that so you can hear it again, peoples.
A general statement. These are questions that investigators have and that nobody has answered publicly. But the phrase, everybody is on board, when a boy whose life they are asking about was already on that island, without a phone, without a way home, that phrase sits heavy. The GPS data shows the boat's movements. Investigators have that. They know where the boat went. They know the timeline of the electrical issue. They have the sea tow call. They have the GPS, and the investigation is still active. Notice this, the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources and Sea Tow do not agree on what happened to that boat. One says it was not towed. The other says it was towed 2.75 miles. That discrepancy, small as it may seem on paper, tells you that the official record of that evening is not airtight. Here is where we are sitting, at the halfway point of what this case has shown us so far. The only black friend in that group, Treston Shepard, stepped forward, claimed the voice on the viral video, put himself at the center of an altercation on that island, one that had nothing to do with Nolan. His account has been corroborated, and he said clearly, Nolan is not in that video. Javon Williams, also black, also loved Nolan, agrees the voice is not Nolan's, but also says it was not like Nolan to separate from his own people. The girl Nolan allegedly stayed behind for, said he came back to the boat. His phone made it home. He did not. Messages on that phone were deleted. His father could not get his son's keys without a fight. 2 autopsies later, the independent autopsy commissioned by the family announced on July 22nd ruled that Nolan's cause and manner of death were undetermined pending investigation. Results from the original autopsy conducted by the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office are not yet available. And the independent pathologist could not rule out foul play. Could not rule it out. Weeks after 18-year-old Nolan's body was found floating face down near an island off the Mississippi coast, an independent autopsy requested by his family has yielded no solid answers about what led to his death.
My buddy Marcus had his wallet stolen on the subway. He had it back in 4 minutes. That's exactly why I started carrying.
And now, there is this. Attorneys for the family of Nolan Wells released findings from the independent autopsy, which identified a significant injury to the back of Wells's head.
A significant injury to the back of Nolan Wells' head. So what does that indicate, peoples? That indicates a contusion, a significant. And he didn't mix words, people. He said a significant blow to the back of the head. In other words, he got struck in the back of his head. So it wasn't a drowning, peoples. You know, it was premeditated murder. Somebody hit him on the back of his head. And all of these kids is covering up because he didn't just slip and fall and then slip into the water, peoples. They're on sand. Somebody killed them. And they're going to find out who did it. And all of them is going to be implicated peoples. All of those kids are going down. That's why when the operator had asked the boy how many souls was on board, how many people that was breathing. See, what the people don't understand is whenever you call 911 and stuff, it's already recording soon as it picks up. It's already recording. When they put you on hold, it's already recording. Anything you say is already recording. So it was obviously something said in that call that the young lady had filtered out to where we were able to hear some things. And that's why the operator had went on and asked the questions in a manner to which she did. And that's why the young lady had went on and segregated that audio in a manner to which she did. But set aside from that, peoples, the evidence that was shown up in the autopsy, a significant blow to the back of the head, that says murder. A significant blow. How did that happen? Did he slip and fall? Or did someone take something to bust his head? Because see, people's, if nothing happened to Nolan, if Nolan's body was floating in the river or the water and stuff, and there was no significant injuries to him and things, well then okay, we can rule it an accident, accidental drowning. Be no reason to cover up shit. But the judge, the coroner, and all of the other people affiliated together in this case, their kids is going down for murder. They know it. I know it. Now you know it. They're going down. Their lives is going to be forfeited. A life for a life. It's just like what this young girl had said on TikTok. Don't trust crackers. If you a black person and you in a group with crackers, you need to get away from them because you can't trust them, because they will turn up on you in a split second. And that's the truth, peoples. But he was among crackers. Now he got jacked up. The people was going down for murder, peoples. They're going down for murder. You ain't got to believe it. But you heard it here up on Edward Joseph Let's Talk Live.
Ruled that Nolan's cause and manner of death were undetermined pending investigation. Results from the original autopsy conducted by the Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office are not yet available. And the independent pathologist could not rule out foul play. Could not rule it out. Weeks after 18-year-old Nolan's body was found floating face down near an island off the Mississippi coast, an independent autopsy requested by his family has yielded no solid answers about what led to his death. And now, there is this. Attorneys for the family of Nolan Wells released findings from the independent autopsy, which identified a significant injury to the back of Wells's head. A significant injury to the back of his head. The state initially leaned toward drowning. Jackson County investigators initially said they suspect that Nolan drowned, but they are still searching for answers and continuing the investigation. The family has never accepted that. His father described him as an elite athlete who could swim, and so they are just not accepting that Nolan drowned accidentally, Crump said. Whether a significant head injury is consistent with a drowning, whether it occurred before or after he entered the water, whether it tells us about a fall, a wave, a collision, or something else entirely. Those are forensic questions, questions that the official state autopsy has not yet answered publicly. What we know right now is this. In any active investigation, many details remain under wraps, especially when the medical examiner has not yet determined the official cause and manner of death. In Wells's case, neither has been determined. Neither has been determined. We are going to take everything we have just laid out. And in the next part, we are going to sit with what an expert says this evidence picture actually means. Not what the internet is saying, not what any one side is arguing, what the evidence, as it exists right now, actually tells a forensic professional about the questions still open in this case. But before we get there, I need you to hold on to one thing. Tristan Shepard came forward. He cleared the video. He said the screaming, the anger, the chaos caught on camera. That was him, not Nolan. And he said it publicly, at personal risk, knowing the internet had already decided the story. But here is what Shepard did not say. He did not say he saw Nolan get on a boat. He did not say he watched Nolan swim away safely. He did not say he knows what happened after that boat pulled off. He told the story he had. And the story he had ends with Nolan still on that island. So the question is not whether Shepard is telling the truth. The question is, what happened in the hours that nobody, not Shepard, not Williams, not any of the 300 people on that island, has been able to account for? We will be right back with that answer, or at least as close to one as the evidence will take us. Now, let's bring in the expert voice, because up to this point, Everything we have discussed is what the evidence looks like on the surface. The phone, the video, the contradiction about the girl, the head injury, the boat call. All of that is visible. All of that is documented. But what does it mean? What does it actually mean when a forensic pathologist opens a body? And the throat is not there. The independent autopsy was performed by Dr. Roger Mitchell, a board-certified forensic pathologist, and the president of the National Medical Association, the oldest and largest organization of Black physicians in the United States. That matters, not as a political statement, as context. The family made a deliberate choice. They did not want someone with ties to Mississippi law enforcement. Crump said the family had Wells's body flown from Mississippi to Washington, D.C. because his family wanted to make sure they had a doctor with no ties to Mississippi law enforcement to perform the examination. So Dr. Mitchell receives the body, and he finds two things that stop everything cold. During a posterior head and neck dissection, Dr. Mitchell found a 12 by 8 inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissue overlaying the occipital bone, the back of the skull. He reported that the cause of that finding was unclear. There were no lacerations of the overlaying skin, no fractures of the underlying skull. Think about what that means. The discoloration is not on the surface. It is in the deep soft tissue, underneath the skin, which means it is not a scrape. It is not a sunburn. It is not something that happens on the outside. It is something that happened inside the tissue, at the back of his head.
Which clearly says that he was struck in the back of the head. Peoples, it doesn't take a freaking rocket scientist to understand that that means murder. You don't get that type of significant injury in one's skull by laying his head down on the pillow. Do you understand what I'm saying, peoples? You don't get that type of injury by laying on the pillow. So this is one of the reasons why all of the kids are nervous and everybody is being mum's the word and giving all of these conflicting statements and things. Because see, the thing is, they are an accessory to the crime. And for the murderer, they can be charged for murder as well, being an accessory to the crime. And then, by that being on federal grounds, well, then that just ramped things up just a little bit, peoples. So, you guys still think that he drowned? Because the people thought at one point that he drowned. But now, since you know that there are significant injuries to the back of his head, that changes his whole perspective, right? And that changes the way that you're looking at this particular case. And because of the contusion in the back of his head, that's already letting you know, people, that this case is about to turn in a manner to which few expected it to. So when you think that it's not a murder investigation, well, blame Officer Potato, because he lets you know that this is a murder investigation. He let it slip. And Edward Joseph caught it. And calling his ass out for the nefarious madness that he's been speaking, peoples. Oh yeah, I'm up on it. I'm up on it, peoples. You know, and you're only going to get this kind of juicy from this channel, because I am analytical and I am meticulous. And I've always told you, peoples, in order to learn, you got to learn to listen, and you got to listen to learn. And stop yapping at the mouth and thinking that you know every goddamn thing about this case when you don't. Because you'll learn something if you listen and stop interjecting when people are trying to explain some things. Let's go.
Now, Dr. Mitchell is careful in how he words it, and that carefulness is exactly why it matters. He is not saying Nolan was struck. He is not saying this is proof of anything. He is saying the cause of the discoloration is unclear, and that in the presence of decomposition, the level of decomposition can obscure the presence or absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. That is a forensic pathologist telling you. The picture I am seeing may be incomplete because of how long it has been and because of what the body went through before I received it. And then comes the second finding, the one that may be the most significant detail in this entire case so far. When Wells's body was sent for the second autopsy, Dr. Mitchell says the throat, the trachea, the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, the hyoid bone was not received with the body. Having experience as a chief medical examiner, Mitchell assumed the original Mississippi pathologist retained them, a common practice when there is concern about neck fractures or compression. Let that sit. The throat was not there. Now, there is an important qualifier here, and we are going to give it its full weight, because the facts deserve that. Dr. Priya Banerjee, a forensic pathologist based in Rhode Island, who reviewed the autopsy report and is not involved with the case, said it is not unusual for doctors to retain some remains. She said she would guess that the state is taking a closer look at the neck structures, adding that some doctors like to keep structures for further analysis, or just to preserve them for posterity. So the retention of those structures by the state medical examiner is not automatically suspicious. Dr. Mitchell himself said it is a common forensic pathology practice. But here is the separate question, and this is where we use the frame: whether the state retained those throat structures for legitimate further analysis. That is one question. Whether the family's independent pathologist should have had access to them before being asked to issue findings, that is a completely different question. And right now, only one of those has been answered. In the autopsy report presented by Crump, Mitchell noted that parts of Wells' throat were not in his body when it was received for review. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. Cannot rule it out. The investigation will help determine whether Wells was alive when entering the water, why he entered it, and why he could not get out. That is where witness accounts, scene reconstruction, physical and digital evidence, and other investigative findings come into play. An autopsy alone rarely provides every answer. The strongest forensic conclusions come from integrating the medical findings with the investigative evidence. That is a forensic expert telling you. The autopsy is not the whole story. It is one piece, and the other pieces, the phone, the witnesses, the GPS, the CTO call, those pieces have to be read alongside the medical findings before anyone can say with confidence what happened on that island. Notice this. The state autopsy has been completed, but it has not been released publicly. The Mississippi State Medical Examiner has completed the official autopsy, but the findings will not be released publicly. Instead, they will be submitted directly to a Jackson County grand jury, along with other investigative evidence. So the official findings, the state's version of what happened to Nolan's body, are going directly to a grand jury, without a public press conference, without a release to the family, without Dr. Mitchell being able to review them before he issued his own preliminary findings. Crump said that Dr. Mitchell believed the proper venue to interpret the results of the toxicology report would be before a grand jury. We would hope that the district attorney would present Dr. Mitchell before the grand jury as well. We want all relevant information to be heard by the grand jury, Crump said. That is a request, not a guarantee. And here is something the family did together to push back. And it tells you how seriously they are taking the digital evidence specifically. Wells's parents and their attorneys met with Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers-McElrath on July 15th. They said they did not learn of new information about the investigation, but agreed to have a mutual inspection of Wells's cell phone done by experts from each party. A mutual inspection, both sides, looking at the same phone, at the same time, with their own experts present. That does not happen casually. That is a legal move. That is the family saying, we want to be in the room when you look at that device, and we want our own expert there to see exactly what you see. Now, let's talk about what else Crump's legal team has set in motion. because this is where the investigation is building, not closing, building. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump said his legal team continues to pursue its own investigation. He said forensic audio specialists are reviewing the complete CETO emergency call from July 4th, while ocean engineering experts are examining how Wells's body ultimately came to be recovered near the northwestern tip of Horn Island. Ocean engineering experts. Think about what that means. The family is not just asking who did what on that island. They are asking, given the currents, given the geography, given where that body was found, does the official explanation of what happened make scientific sense? Does the water tell a story that matches the one being offered? Others say the currents near Horn Island can be notoriously rough, with the local coroner saying his office has received numerous drowning victims from Mississippi's barrier islands in recent years. That is real. That is documented. The currents are genuinely dangerous near Horn Island. The group's vice president told CNN he spoke to several people who were at Horn Island on July 4th and described the beach as being packed with boats and people, some of whom had been drinking alcohol, if someone had fallen into the water. Brian Trasher said, strong rip currents that day may have posed a risk, but notice what that does not answer. It does not explain the phone. It does not explain the keys. It does not explain the deleted messages. It does not explain why the girl said he came back to the boat. It does not explain the discoloration on the back of his head. Strong currents explain a drowning. They do not explain those other things. Here is what we know about the legal process moving forward. And this is important because a lot of people are waiting on an arrest. And the process that is actually happening looks different from that. One, after the investigation is finished, Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers McElrath will let a grand jury decide whether any potential charges are warranted. This case is being treated as a priority, the district attorney said. Upon the conclusion of the investigation, the findings will go before a grand jury, which is our standard operating procedure for deaths that are not natural deaths. Deaths that are not natural deaths. The DA herself said that. She is not calling this a drowning. She is not calling this an accident. She is calling it a death that is not natural, and her office is following the protocol they follow for exactly those cases. District Attorney Angel Myers McElrath has said that presenting death investigations to the grand jury before releasing findings is standard practice in her office. So the process is investigation completes, evidence goes to a grand jury decides if charges are warranted. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office will turn its findings over to the District Attorney's Office once the investigation is complete. The case will then be presented to a grand jury, which is standard practice for unnatural deaths in the county.
Unnatural death, which basically saying that the boy didn't die naturally by natural causes. They ruled out drowning. So what other conclusion can you come up with, peoples? What conclusion can you come up with? I mean, they've already given you all of the answers to any question that you are thinking of. The guy has significant bruising to the skull, the inner tissues in his cranium. It's an unnatural death. They ruled out drowning. So basically, all they're doing is gathering up evidence to go ahead and charge some kids for the murder of Nolan Xavier Wells. Now, Edward Joseph is telling you that this is a murder investigation. Mr. Officer Potato told you that it was a murder investigation. But the father didn't want to accuse the kids of a murder investigation. But all the while, peoples, this is a murder investigation. Let's go.
It is up to the grand jury to decide whether criminal charges should be filed. No charges have been filed. No one has been named as a suspect. No arrests have been made. That is the legal status of this case as of right now, as of August 2026. As of August 2nd, 2026, authorities did not suspect foul play in Wells's death, but the family does not accept that, and the autopsy does not support a clean conclusion in either direction, and the grand jury process has not concluded. What the family wants is not a predetermined verdict. Let's be very clear about that. Because it would be easy to frame this as a family demanding that someone be arrested. And that is not what Nolan's parents are actually asking for. Listen to what Nolan's mother, Christine Wansley, said, not to a reporter.
I've been dreading the day I received this email. The invitation to my high school reunion class.
Not in a formal press conference.
Now notice he said August 2026. Okay, so this was 5 days ago, because this is August 25th, 2026. All right, let's listen in, people. Let's go.
But in her own voice, on her own social media page. To people who were pushing back against the family's fight, we are not asking for special treatment. We just want the truth. His father and I will not stop searching for the truth. That is a mother. A month into the worst thing that can happen to a person. Still saying, not that she wants a conviction. Not that she wants revenge, she wants the truth. We just want honesty and transparency. We want a thorough investigation. We want that same respect that would be given to anybody else. And that's it. We just want answers. That same respect that would be given to anybody else. That line is the whole case. In 8 words, because that is the question underneath all of it. Not just whether Nolan drowned, not just whether someone hurt him. The question is this family being given the same standard of investigation, the same urgency, the same transparency that any family would receive anywhere in this country? The case has drawn speculation about the circumstances of Wells's death and the integrity of the official investigation by the Wells family and their attorney, Benjamin Crump, who have alleged possible racial bias in the investigation. Public attention has been fueled by race tensions in Mississippi and by Wells, who was black. Disappearing at a mostly white gathering. Nobody who is watching this case seriously can ignore that context, and nobody should pretend it is not there. But it is also worth naming clearly that the presence of racial context does not automatically mean racial malice, and it does not automatically mean accident either. It means this case must be examined with the same rigor, every time, by every institution involved, without exception. Now, about Nolan's father, Elmore Wansley, a man who has stood in front of cameras, held himself together, asked questions, pushed back on narratives, while carrying something no parent should ever have to carry. Our son should be in college right now, Elmore Wansley said. We should be receiving phone calls from him. But we can't. We just want the truth, Elmore said. We just want someone to be brave enough to stand up and give us the truth. Someone to be brave enough. That is the ask, not a verdict, not revenge. Bravery, the bravery to stand up and say what happened. If you go with 5, come back with 5. Elmore Wansley told GMA he knew to stay with his group. So why would he split from his group? I don't know. A father who taught his son the rules of the world and is now standing in the aftermath, asking why his son followed every rule he was given and still did not come home. Wells was set to return to Southwest Mississippi Community College this fall as a wide receiver on the football team. He was a month away from turning 19 years old. He was a month away from turning 19. He had a football season ahead of him. He had a team, he had a jersey, he had a mother who called him her sunshine, and a father who told him to stay with his group because he knew the world and he wanted his son to be safe in it. Christine remembered her son as gentle, loving, and able to make people around him feel welcomed and valued. She told mourners at his July 20 funeral that the family would continue fighting for answers, writing to her growing social audience in the days after he went missing. Christine Wansley said, "The family has so many questions, so many questions. Here is where this case stands today. The state autopsy, complete, not publicly released, going to a grand jury. The independent autopsy, undetermined, a significant injury to the back of the head, The throat structures, not received. Neck injury, cannot be ruled out. The phone, returned without Nolan. Messages deleted. A mutual forensic inspection, agreed upon. Not yet complete. The CTO call, under review by audio specialists. The boat's GPS movements, in the hands of investigators. The girl Nolan allegedly stayed behind for, said he came back to the boat. The friend who said the viral video was his voice, not Nolan's, corroborated. But he also left the island without seeing Nolan board anything. A newly completed independent analytical review of photographs, videos, GPS coordinates, and witness accounts concludes that the available evidence still leaves a material gap in the timeline between Wells's last independently corroborated sighting and the recovery of his body. A material gap, that phrase, from an independent analytical review, is the most important phrase in this entire case right now. Not a gap filled with a theory, not a gap filled with suspicion, a gap filled with nothing, a documented, verified, material gap. And until that gap is filled with evidence, not assumptions, not social media speculation, not politically convenient conclusions in either direction, until that gap is filled with the truth, Nolan Wells has not received the full weight of what his life was worth. Nolan Wells was a beloved son, teammate, and friend, who went out to celebrate the 4th of July and never came home. His family deserves answers. They deserve the truth. Now that you have heard about the missing throat, the red discoloration at the back of his head, the deleted messages, the phone that came home without him, and the girl who says he came back to the boat, what stands out to you most? Tell me in the comments, because this case is not over, not by a long way. We will keep following this, every update, every hearing, every grand jury development, until there are real answers for Nolan.
Well, peoples, there you have it. A good, wholesome synopsis as to the current events and what's happening right now. And that's what it is. That's what it is, peoples. So much is happening, peoples, and it's just incredible. But as you heard from me, they're going to come back and they're going to convict some kids. They're going to indict some kids and they're going to convict some kids of murder. Somebody killed that boy. And that's not speculation on my part, because the evidence proves that he was murdered. Because if this was just a simple little drowning, then it'd be no reason why people should be lying. And I want the difference attorney to come and sue me. Sue me. Anybody, come sue me. Because, hey, it's your peoples who you're trying to defend is going to spend the rest of their lives in prison. And I'm going to be sitting back talking about the next case. So this is why I don't watch everybody's lives, peoples. I don't watch all of the thousands of lives that people are doing in things and stuff. I don't watch everybody's lives and stuff because, all it is just sensationalism and things. But you got an ear full, you got an eye full, and you got a mind full. So you guys come back again, people. So I'll be back. It's late right now. I'm going to get off of here. But when I come back, I'm going to come back with some nice little clips and poignant clips and things and stuff. And clips of the professionals from the young lady's channel, because she has all the professionals on there, the people who's been doing this forever and a day. And we're going to see what they had to say. So you ain't got to take my word for it, people. So I'm just a YouTuber. I'm just a person that just analyzes that of what the people say, break it down, and then throw it back in their face. That's it. That's all. But you decide, peoples. You decide what you choose to believe. And that's all that matters. So, peoples, I hope I had said something to encourage your hearts upon tonight. Tune in again next time to an Edward Joseph Let's Talk Live. Edward Joseph Kitchen. Edward Joseph Gospel Hour. Edward Joseph's Blessings Giveaway 2026 will come to you with something wonderful. I love you with the love of Christ, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. Peoples, mask up and be safe. And again, peoples, now you got a good, wholesome synopsis as to what's going on. We're going to break down more of the commentary that the people had stated in their interviews and things. And we're going to hold them to account for the various madness that they speak, peoples. Until then, you guys be blessed and get your rest. And if the good Lord says the same, I will see you soon. Maybe on tomorrow night, peoples, but we'll see. Until then, peoples, God bless you all. Thank you for watching.
Nobody does it better. Sometimes I wish